This is the Tesla Model 3 rear-wheel drive, and this is how much you'll have to fork out to own it in the States. Over in Singapore, as of April 2022, here's what that $65,000 could get you. Sorry, can we zoom in? Yep, that's what we're referring to, the COE. Or more accurately, a prop COE. We couldn't afford to get a legit one, obviously. But why is this single sheet of paper so expensive? And how does it all work to drive up the prices of car ownership here? So this paper of privilege, or as it's more formally known, the Certificate of Entitlement, is exactly what it sounds like. A license that lets you own a vehicle in Singapore for up to 10 years. If you don't renew it after that, the vehicle has to be deregistered or scrapped. There are 5 different COE categories, but these are the car-specific ones. Categories A and B are differentiated by their engine capacities and maximum power outputs. But wait, how does the bidding process work in the first place?
Let's say you and me, Ike, we are both bidding for COEs, but there's only one COE available. You bid $700 and then I bid $300. The price of the COE that you pay is the first failed bid plus $1. So to put it simply, I am the first failed bid at $300, right? So for you, you actually pay $301 for the COE for that round. You can bid through an ATM or you can bid through your dealer when you buy a new car.
Near the start of every quarter, LTA announces the quota for each month, which gives people a rough idea of how competitive the bidding might get. So it seems pretty basic, right? It's the overarching principle of supply and demand. Generally, the higher the quota, the lower the prices. But you've probably heard that COE is getting more expensive. So what affects COE costs? There are both short-term and longer-term influences that can intensify this supply and demand rule. Starting with the short-term example, we can examine consumer behavior during the early days of COVID-19. In April and June of 2020, the COE bidding exercise was suspended due to the circuit breaker. When it resumed in July, there was clearly pent-up demand for both Cat A and B cars, with the number of bids doubling from the last round that took place on 18th March.
When you have such a long stoppage of bidding, when it's opened again, there will be more people who will bid for COEs. For sure, the pandemic won't stop people from buying cars, right? You still could buy a car. And at the same time, there were a lot of options from dealers to buy it, literally from home.
LTA had also anticipated this uptick and increased the July quotas to manage the disparity between supply and demand. However, the price for Cat B COEs still went up by about $5,000 in the first week of the bidding exercises resuming. Maybe that was an early indicator that the demand for cars and people's willingness to pay for COEs would stay strong in spite of the pandemic. Here's how much the COE for Cat A cars was worth in the second bidding for March 2021. Fast forward to the same month in 2022 and it's rocketed up by over $25,000. This seems really dramatic, but the truth is, prices have been climbing steadily over the past few years. Elements that play out over a longer term, such as market forces and government policies, have been gradually contributing to this increase.
The government determines the amount of COEs by this thing called the vehicle growth rate, which is currently at 0%. So you might assume that we can't put any more cars on the road. But if there are cars which are deregistered or scrapped, then of course this will be added on to the quota. So currently at 0%, which is the case since 2018, not many people were scrapping their cars back then. A lot of people were renewing their COEs between 2018 to possibly up to 2021. So there is a shrinkage of the quota, which means that the supply has reduced. That could possibly be the reason why COE prices have skyrocketed in the last few years.
The COE revalidation scheme did see a tremendous increase in uptake several years ago. Over 2015 to 2017, 5-year renewals gained immense popularity. In 2014, there had been just 997 renewals for Category A cars, but this number shot up to almost 6,000 the next year. Now it's 2022, and many COE renewals will be reaching the end of their 5-year lifespan. For those who want to continue owning cars, they're probably going to have to get back into the bidding game, which is only going to drive up demand further.
One thing to note also is other government policies to try and cool the COE prices. Around the periods of 2013 to 2015, there was an introduction by MAS in terms of financing. Now, before this, you could finance the cars with a very long tenure, up to the COE tenure actually. Pretty much the full price of the car can be financed. Now, with a tenure of 7 years, you only can effectively finance 60 or 70% of the car price. So if there is an introduction or a change in this car loan restriction, then possibly you will see less people buying cars.
And then there's climate change and the government's push to have greener options on our roads, like electric vehicles.
Buying a Tesla in Singapore is very attractive. With COE, a base model Tesla will cost right around $200,000, and it's considered as a premium car to a lot of car buyers today in Singapore. So when you actually buy a Tesla, what they will do is give you the option of either bidding the COE for yourself, or they will bid it for you. They don't factor in the COE price as of yet, but they can do it for you if you win the bid. Only a rare, small few of people actually bid for COEs. Most people just let the dealers do it because there are more factors as to buying a car, such as financing rates and stuff like that. I believe that COE prices will go down if, let's say, the onus is on the buyers themselves to bid it on their own, because that's a large amount of money actually to bid for COEs. And if you secure the COE, you have to pay it in full. You effectively can't take financing through the ATM when you bid for the COE. If, let's say, such a change happens, that could be quite interesting.